film so much. I'm so excited we get to talk about it. I'm just going to bring them out so we can get started. Please help me welcome Justine Ciarrocchi, the producer. And help me welcome actor and producer Jennifer Lawrence. Can we just say what a performance? Wasn't it incredible? Yeah. So, from what I understand, the book came to you through Martin Scorsese and to your production company. Tell me what it was about the book that made you think this could be a movie.
Well, when Martin Scorsese reads something and it's like, you should be in this, that was probably part one of like, this would be a great movie. But as I was reading it, I definitely understood what he was feeling. It's hard to know. It's a weird book in terms of like turning something into a movie, because it's all the main character's kind of inner world. So I had a hard time kind of picturing it as a film, but I definitely felt the power that was behind this description of something that's been really misunderstood, that I think our society is misunderstood. And it was an incredible and an impactful character, and all of these things, but I couldn't really figure out how to make it into a movie. And then it clicked that it was poetry, and then once that clicked, then it was just Lynne Ramsay.
Well, can you talk to me about Lynne? I mean, were there other directors you thought about? It wasn't immediately her. Did you have to woo her? What was that process like?
We didn't think of other directors, because the first part of thinking about it was just sitting with the book and thinking, what is it? And then once we realized what it was, maybe if Lynne had said no, we would have thought about somebody else. But I don't know. It's really hard to think about anybody that could do that. Probably I would have gone back to Marty and been like, I failed.
Which you can't do. You're not allowed to do that, I think, with him.
I mean, if you fail, I don't know what else I would have done. I would have just been like, Justine and I will direct it, and we'll figure it out. Kidding, that would have been way worse. Sorry, what was the question?
What was it about Lynne?
Oh, what was it about Lynne? Well, I mean, my God, Lynne is really singular. I'll never forget where I was when I saw one of her first movies, or Ratcatcher, the first movie for me. And then I immediately was just, because I've enjoyed movies before or enjoyed directors before, but I was like, oh, I have to watch her entire filmography. This is something I haven't seen before. And she's so unflinching and brave. She's all of these things that people like to think that they are, or the tiny little compliments that you throw at other filmmakers. But she doesn't like make a movie thinking about an audience. She doesn't give a fuck. She's just like, she just makes you go. She makes you feel. It's like a 4-dimensional experience. And it's poetic. And when I say poetic, I mean for the obvious reasons, but also for the literal. There's a prose, there's a statement, and then there's breathing room for you to project onto that. So that was the voice that was needed for this movie, or we fail.
Justine, can you tell me, in those early days, what you sort of anticipated about being the biggest challenge to produce this and make it become a reality?
I mean, I think that every movie, as everyone in this room knows, certainly with independent cinema, every movie has its own set of challenges and crises. I think, to kind of piggyback off what Jem was saying, the book was a stream of consciousness, so the adaptation was really audacious. And so I think getting Lynne to come on was the most important piece, because if we were going to honor the book, we really need somebody who was like brazen enough to stick to it and do something unorthodox. I think is this better? I think it's really hard to raise money for independent movies, as all of you know, and it's especially hard to raise money for an independent movie that isn't making like a definitive statement, and you know, where the commentary isn't like definitive. One of the things that felt so important to us at the top of the journey, which was clear in the book, was that we didn't want to pathologize Grace. And I think that was also a tough thing to sell people on. So anyway, I don't want to ramble, but those are some of the big ones for sure.
And when it came to getting the adaptation right, was there ever like a writer's block, a hurdle, a moment that during that process felt really difficult, as Lynne and her co-writers were?
I mean, you're just like describing what the entire process is like. The whole process feels like that. And then, you know, you're still going and you're still kind of like editing or like talking about it. And then all of a sudden it's like out and people are talking to you about it and you're like, what? It was, I mean, Lynne would like, we just talked about who this character was for a really long time, for years, what the circumstances were and like who she was and how she would react to certain circumstances and stuff. But she would also just like, she would send me songs like meant something to her. She would write songs. And so by the time we actually got to shooting, it was like this entire world existed, like in all of us. And then she actually gave us a lot of freedom to just kind of, you know, she would like set the camera back and then just be like, okay, go, you know, walk around the house. And I'm like, what? But yeah, I have to learn on how to like finish a sentence without ending it with, yeah.
You'll get there.
That will be my New Year's resolution. Yeah, just keep going. Yeah. And when I was born.
And Jen, you were pregnant during the filming of this with your second child. At what point did you realize that was going to be happening? Like, did you ever consider maybe I should wait to do the movie later, where you guys were the wheels already on the bus and you were in production? How did you sort of grapple with that?
Well, I didn't know you were going to ask about my sex life. I definitely knew that there was going to be a movie happening. I also knew that I was having a protected
She knew what she was doing.
I don't know if it's chicken or the egg. I don't like remember, but I remember it working out nicely, that it was gonna land right. I was gonna be in my second trimester by the time we were shooting, because I working in your first trimester would be truly impossible, or for me, I'm like sick for 3 months, but the timing worked out nicely, where I was like just hitting my second trimester, and then that also worked out well for me to like tell everybody and be like, I can't wait to get there. I just rented my apartment. I'm also pregnant. And then they couldn't fire me.
Justine, what ended up being most challenging about actually getting what you needed to do the production, to film? Was it locations? Was it money? Was it time? I know, I'm just assuming these are all challenging.
Totally, yeah. Keep going. I think that
Your best friend calling me like,
yeah, surprise. I think all of it, and I think it's like you're always trying to figure out how to make the day. I think what's so glorious about making an independent movie is that I find, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do too, that when you have fewer resources, it just forces you to cut to the essential in a way that I think when you have a larger budget, it doesn't quite feel as dire. So it kind of brings out the best in everybody. Like you have to level up to get it done. And I think with someone like Lynne, you want to make the day, of course, and you want to hit everything on the schedule, but you also want to make sure there's room for Lynne to do her spontaneous Lynne Ramsay shit. And so I think the biggest challenge was kind of protecting those spaces at the end of the day so that she could improvise and imagine and kind of go rogue. And some of the great scenes in the movie came from those scenarios.
Can you guys give me an example of a scene like that?
I can give you many. The scene where we're crawling in the grass, the proposal scene that was originally written, that we were just like flipping burgers on the porch, and then she saw the light in the field, and then was like, crawl in the glass. That's my Scottish accent. The others were, well, lots of like, I definitely wanted her to have the freedom, like in terms of like nudity and stuff. I didn't want her to feel inhibited in any way. I wanted her to like look at a window and be like, oh my God, that window's beautiful. Go stand in front of it naked. And she did. She did have us like, she had us do, I mean, this stuff I've said before, so I'm like paranoid.
Even improvising in the hospital though, like there were scenes that
Oh,
were
well,
like
there-
stacked with dialogue, and she was
Yeah.
like, "Now do it with none." And Jen and Rob were like, "What?"
Yeah, she's like, and then like Rob has a really bad memory, and he would argue and say I have like a freakish memory, but I think I have a normal memory. I think he is not dumb, but bad at memorizing.
He's not here to defend himself. This is not
He's
fair.
what? I'm not saying he's dumb. Not. He wouldn't say that he was a good memorizer, but anyway, he'd been like laboring over these pages. It was like 5 pages of dialogue, and then she was just like, "Yeah, just do it with your eyes," and we were like, "Word, okay, cool." Yeah, things like that.
And talk to me a little bit about Rob. Obviously, you were attached first. How did the idea of Rob being opposite you come about, and did the two of you have similar acting styles when you were on set?
We did have similar acting styles, but this was the first movie I've ever done in my life. If you want to know what working with Lynne Ramsay is like, all of our first choice of cast said yes. And Rob, I don't think we had even like thought of him yet. We had like, you know, actors that we were considering, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 actors. Rob obviously like stood out from the group, but he FaceTimed me about a different project, and then I was like, oh well, I can't. I'm like doing this Lynne Ramsay project, and then he was like, I want to do that, and I was like, okay, let me like check. And then everybody was like, well, obviously, yes. So I didn't tell that story in a very romantic way. It was and is the best choice. It just, we were talking about another project. Also, this goes with like, you never actually know when a movie is going to shoot, like within months. So like, we weren't like going out to people quite yet because we didn't know when it was going to shoot. So when Rob FaceTimed me, we didn't have like a date. So that's, sorry, felt like that needed context.
And so, did the two of you have a lot of time? Like, does she like rehearsal? Did the two of you bond before shooting, or is it just kind of?
We didn't. Well, Rob and I are pretty similar, where we don't like. I don't like rehearsals. I find them embarrassing. And Rob and I showed up 3 weeks before shooting, and the version of rehearsals was basically just like kind of like reading through the dialogue and then discussing it. And Rob and I were both new parents, we're both partners, so obviously there was a lot of like fertile ground for discussion. And because Rob and I are both in, I think, very healthy relationships, it was really easy for us to kind of turn that over on its head and kind of work backwards on what would demolish this couple and what that would look like, and what it would look like if you refused to say sorry or blamed the other person. And we both also had babies to add to what happens when you're really tired and you're having these arguments. And so that was helpful. And then we started doing the dance lessons. Lynne made us do interpretive dance lessons together, which seemed really evil at the time, but I get where she was coming from. It was like a good muscle for us to learn. Like, I don't think there's anything that I could get embarrassed in front of Rob with at this point now.
Can you tell me about the tightrope of? They do these things that are hard to watch at times, but I think it very much shows that they love the child. Like, there's never anything that felt bad about the way the child is treated. Was that a tightrope you felt like you had to walk in the film?
It's one of those where in the moment it didn't feel like that. In the moment it was just kind of like instinctually something else was happening. And then of course you panic. Like, what? This wasn't how it was written in the script. This wasn't how it was written in the book. You know what's happening. But I think overall that instinct ended up being correct, and also kind of allowing more room for this misunderstood situation of like postpartum is not one thing. Of like, I think we have an idea of it, of like, you don't connect with your kid, or you have a really loud kid and you're not sleeping, you know, and sometimes it's not like that at all. Sometimes you feel like you're the only thing wrong in the situation, or he's the only thing wrong, or she. So yeah, I think Rob and I both, again, were parents, had babies, and so the idea of holding Victoria and Kennedy, who were the twins that were playing, you know, and them reaching for our face and looking into our eyes for a reaction and stonewalling was just like unthinkable. We had to take care of these babies that were on set with us and working with us. And their mom and I would always laugh about like they're having like the best day of their life, because obviously like we're all paranoid, like how to not put these children in peril. But they were having a blast. They just got so much attention and they were played with. And I do want to just say, any moms, because I am this way when I watch movies now, and I'm like, even the water from the creek that I pour on the baby's head was 98.9 degrees. I poured it into a plastic cup and dipped my hand in between the rocks. Like, those children were, and like at one point one of them is crying in the crib, but her mom was like right behind me, like looking at her through my legs, and she was only crying because she was like, "Mom, come." But yeah, it was like a whole family ordeal. You know, Rob and I knew that we had to obviously spend time with the kids outside of work and in between, and also with the parents and having their trust.
Since everyone here has now seen the film, I don't want you to either of you to explain what the ending is, but what does it make you feel when you watch that ending? Justine, can you?
I'm going to be very long-winded if I answer.
Then I will try to be short-winded. I think,
Mike, a little close there.
yeah, wow, I'm really failing with that. Oof, shit.
Do you want me to do it? I can do my long-winded.
I think that, like, I'm almost reticent to respond, because I think that, because, you know, you sit in these Q&As and some people are like, what do you want people to feel? What do you want to leave folks with? And it's like, feel whatever you're gonna feel. That's the point, is that we're not trying to serve you an explicit, like, slice of meaning. Just have your response. And I honestly think that because we've sat through so many cuts of the movie, I am left with a different feeling every time.
Yeah, I am too. I think there's like there's the version that the fire is like a rebirth and a cleansing. And then she finds her way back. And then there's also the possibility that it's, you know, every mother's worst nightmare, which is that they're better off without me, and she kills herself. We'll let you guys decide how you feel. Or whatever you come up with in between. I'm trying to be short with it.
We're gonna wrap it up in a minute, but I'd love to hear if making this movie changed your own perspective on being a mom, because I'm a mom of young kids, and I feel like it actually made me want to like give myself more grace, which I think is sort of a feel-good experience from this. But I'm curious if you had
I'm really happy to hear that. I think the day that I give myself grace is going to be a huge moment of growth for me, when I stop attacking myself. I think, and like actually recognize that I'm working hard and that I'm doing that will be, God, that's going to be nice. Maybe it'll happen.
I think it will.
You?
I would say that I'm also a mom, and I definitely haven't suffered what Grace has to the extent that Grace has suffered those things, but I'm a mom, and I've been a wife, and I've been a lady in a relationship, and a lady in the world, and I think that what's so gutsy and like astonishing about what Jen does and what Lynne does with this movie is the way that they're kind of crawling into these pretty dicey caves of the female psyche. And there was something for me, like, Jen has performed things that I've felt that I don't know that I've ever been able to describe, and there was something so like confronting and also like consoling about that.
Wait, I have an answer.
Get it.
It really helped me. Also, thank you. But I was so aware of how important I'm sorry is, because I was doing the opposite, and I had months and months of just going, she wouldn't do that, and she wouldn't, and I, Jennifer, I am a wife, and I am responsible for somebody's feelings. Would just be like, oh God, she's got to say sorry at some point. And it made me really aware of how much that can change the course of something, of being aware and accountable and saying, I'm sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you guys.